And welcome back to my channel. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I spotlight and highlight and discuss my favorite movies, mostly horror. And we are moving on with my little choices for this week with Sick. The price of this was sick as well. This is the 4K Blu-ray. I don't know. Didn't even come with digital code, but then again, it's Shout Factory, I think. But yeah, I definitely have to say something about this at the end. But yeah, this is Sick. I've seen this floating around in pictures and posters, and I've heard a lot of talk about it. It was released in 2022. And it was directed by John Hyams, and it was written by Kevin Williamson and Katelyn Crabb. Who's Kevin Williamson? I wonder who that is. And it stars Gideon Adlon, Bethlehem and Dylan Sprayberry. Yes. So this movie takes place in the first few months of the start of the COVID. When things went crazy with that. So it started right after all of the lockdowns and the quarantines began in 2020. So we are introduced to a guy named Tyler who is shopping in a grocery store, and you see all the empty shelves and, you know, stuff like that. And everybody's like kind of staying away from each other and paranoid and things like that. And he starts receiving these weird tests. He starts receiving these texts on his mobile. You know, it's like, you know, you want a party? You know, and he's like, sure, who is this? You know, have you been tested? Are you COVID safe? You know, and he's like, none of your fucking business. Who is this? What is this? So he starts getting all of these harassing little texts. And he's getting more and more angry, but then he like receives a picture, and with the picture it said "nice ass," which on that note I will agree. But the picture said "nice ass," and it's right there. It's behind him, like at this minute, and so he turns around and he doesn't see anyone, so he just like shoots a bird randomly, like. I don't know who did that, but here, take this home with you. So he gets into his car, and it's like, you know, it was really creepy, and just the whole thing, I felt anxiety. I felt creepy. So, I mean, Kevin's good with that, right? So he gets back to his apartment, and we have very, very scream-worthy thing, attack, creepy attack, very prolonged, very good. I mean, that's one hell of a fight that you know, Tyler put up, one hell of a fight. And then it was like, you of course have no idea what's going on. Remember, this movie is just open, so you don't know, wow, what's going on, right? And, you think that he got away. I mean, you think that it's all good, and he's hurt bad. And you think that he got away, and I was satisfied with that, right? That he had made it through it. And then, of course, he didn't. Jump scare, and he's gone. And so I'm like, okay, well, that was a good start, you know? I was very like, I'm into it. So we are then introduced to Parker and Mary. This is two girls who, and Mary is especially paranoid about, you know, the vid, wearing the mask and the distancing and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Parker's a little bit more laid back, unfortunately for her, because that's what, well, you'll see. So she they're going to stay at her dad, who's obviously very wealthy. They're going to stay at his lake house, and just hide from the vid. So they go and they get there and they're hanging out, and gives you time to get relaxed. You also get to know them. And then they start receiving those kind of messages too. Parker receives a message that says, "Jump in, the water is fine." But there's nobody around, right? And hands it to Mary, who's like, "What the fuck is this?" You know? "Oh, it's probably just DJ or somebody, you know, just fucking with us." Because, yeah, but jump in, the water's fine, like they know we're sitting here on the dock. She's like, "Yeah, but we told everybody we were coming to the lake. It's an okay assumption, you know, to jump in, the water's fine." But okay, whatever. And then someone does show up, scares the hell out of him. Turns out to be DJ, which was very good, because I'd have shot him or something. I don't know what I'd have done, but because he was on the phone, he didn't answer them when they was asking, "Who is this?" at the door. And he comes around, he comes in the back, and is like, I'm like, "Dude, you're taking liberties. And that is a liberty that would have got you downed for good." So they're kind of like angry at him, but then they chill out and they smoke and dance, and they agree to let him stay, you know, and he's basically there because he likes her. He's Parker. He's upset that she had posted a video of herself at a party, kissing on some guy named Benji. Benji, and so she's like, "But we're not together, and we're not going to be together." So she didn't give him the answers that he wants, so he agrees that he's going to leave the next day. And but they don't get the chance, because that night, you know, after they get through partying and everything, and they're going to go to bed and stuff, you basically see this shit going on behind them. Like, one's walking up the stairs and you'll see the killer walk past. I mean, it's just like, it was fascinating to watch how many times that would creep you out. It creeped me out because it's like somebody's walking around you so many times and you never know they're there. That's how stealthy they are, yeah. So you see all of this taking place, so you know that they're there. It's no big surprise. What happens, he hears something, he wakes up, he sees his phone's gone. He then starts to go upstairs, and then the music starts blasting out of nowhere. "A Little Respect" is the name of the song. Little respect. Yeah, you know, the dance song. So she gets up, wakes up, and notices her phone's gone. She comes down there and is like, "What the hell are you doing with this music and all?" And he's like, "There's somebody in the house." The music goes off. Shit goes south from there. It's like really good cat and mouse, really good chases, really good fights. As this killer is after her, she ends up like thinking that it's all, that she's going to get away, you know. She goes outside. Him and DJ, DJ, are having one hell of a fight. They go outside and climbing through a window. I think they climb through the window down. They get into the Jeep and they start taking off, but the tires are flat. They ain't going nowhere. So they turn around and pull back up into the driveway, and then they're honking for DJ, right, to come out. No, this is before the flat. So DJ, he like opens up the door and he's coming out, and she gets out and runs to him, but she knows he's walking really funny, and you can tell he's walking really funny too. But his eyes are blinking and stuff. And then she realizes that this killer is not only standing behind him, but has him skewered with, like a harpoon thing, right? And as soon as she notices that, it goes on to, those are like a mercilessly horrid kill. That's when they get in the truck, try to take off. Tires are flat. They end up having to come back, sneak back to the house, fight. Lots of fight. And then she ends up like bashing the killer to death. So she wins. Like, he's dead there on the floor. And so Mary's outside with her leg broke. And she's just bashed this guy, right? And he's supposedly dead. And she didn't do the usual thing that people do, which is like, you didn't do it enough. No, she did it enough. Well, she did like about 7 or 8 bashes with that big heavy pot on his head. He should have been dead. And I think he was very close to it. He makes a little appearance later, but it's pretty weak. So she's sitting there over his body and trying to get up and then get away, and the door opens, and there's another one dressed just like him. So you're like, wait a second, there's more than one? Well, that's disappointing. I mean, not for us, because we're the audience and we want to see more movie. But, like, if you were her, it would be like, well, that's disappointing. I mean, just nearly died, and my guy friend is dead, and I just bashed this guy with a crock pot. I did what was correct, and yet here you are. So the shit starts again. She manages to go up, down, up, around, out, and she gets to Mary, and she's like, you got to pretend you're dead. There's 2 of them, So Mary does pretend that she's dead, and the guy, like, kicks her and stuff. And, but he does think that he sees her move or something, so he starts to bend down, but she throws a rock. Parker, like, sees that he's fixing a check, so she throws a rock and gets him distracted, and the stuff is going. So this goes on for quite a while. There's a lot of chase, a lot of stuff in it. Not long enough, but there's a lot of good, because this isn't a big cast. There's only, 4 victims. Tyler at the beginning, and you've got Mary and Parker and DJ. So the 2 guys have been dead. It's kind of sexist of you. But the 2 guys are dead. The 2 girls are left alive. And you got this one killer supposedly dead on the floor, and this other one is after her. So we get a lot of that. She manages to get out onto the highway. Meanwhile, Mary, right, she's managed to crawl into the house. She definitely has a broken leg, and she's like, there's the dead guy on the floor. And so she's like really smart. She's like cutting up wood, and I was like, she's trying to make a splint for her leg is what she's doing. And I was right, so I'm smart too. But so she's doing that. Meanwhile, Parker, who has led that other guy off, they're fighting at the road, and she got some good punches in on him, and he went down. And then this lady stops in her car and is like, she's like banging on the window, you gotta let me in. And she's like, where's your mask? And I'm like, she's covered in blood. So that's what was supposed to be the funny thing about the behavior of people. Where's your mask? And it's like, I don't have a mask. This dude's like, he's like, kill me. It's like, help. And the lady's like, let me see if I've got an extra one. And so you're like, oh. I was hoping that guy would come up and kill her. That's what I was hoping, So you see the guy stand up down there. She manages to get in the car just in time, and the woman is like, yeah, here's this mask. So she puts this mask on, and the woman just sits there and stares at her, and you're like, what the fuck? Pedal to the metal, mama, let's go, is what, I'd have been saying. Now, what are you just sitting there staring at me for? Which we quickly find out, because she starts like getting really woozy and says, what's wrong? Something is wrong with this mask. And she passes out. I'm like, they chloroformed that bitch. What the fuck? I smell a twist. So they get back to the lake house, right? And Mary's in there. She's managed to get this really good splint. She did a good job with saran wrap and pieces of furniture. Like the legs of dinner table chairs. So she had made her a nice little splint for her leg. And she sees that car pulling up. And right when she does, like, that fucker has got a little bit of life left in him, right? And he jumps up, scares the shit out of you, scares the shit out of her. She ends up, like, stabbing him. So she finishes him for good. And she then sees the car pull up, and she sees them toting. She sees the guy in black and the woman toting Parker in there to the living room. So she hides behind the kitchen island, isn't that what they call it? The little counter thing in the middle of the kitchen. The island counter, whatever. So she's hiding behind that, and she's listening to them. They come and they sit down, and you're really confused, right? Not only are you confused, but you're like highly interested. You're like, what is going on here? Is this like some kind of Texas Chainsaw? Like, there were several things that went through my mind at that moment. I thought, well, theory one, maybe it's some kind of like Texas Chainsaw thing, and like mommy, maybe she's like the mommy of these two, and because it's the vid, they need breeding stock. So they're like kidnapping these girls for the breeding stock, because people were crazy during the vid, right? So that was like my theory for that split second. It didn't last long, but you have to come up with a theory. And my theory was that I was like, well, what is she doing? She's like kidnapping, because that was like the Wrath of Becky. It's the exact same twist as the Wrath of Becky. Which movie came first? But it's the exact same twist, because when in the Wrath of Becky, when Becky ran and to that lady's house with the oxygen tank and shit, she acted like a sweet lady, right? And then she turns out to be the mother of that Nazi that was trying to kill Becky and them. So it was the exact same twist as that. So, of course, I knew that because I've got that movie. So if you had that movie, you would have seen it too. It's like, well, that's the same twist as Wrath of Becky. So you then see the mother. So I thought it was that. I was like, maybe it's some kind of vid thing where they want breeding stock or something. So they go over there and they like jab this thing up her nose, and I'm like, is she giving her a vid test? Well, that seems like an unusual thing to do for your victim. I mean, you've murdered a bunch of people, yet you're giving her a vid test. What, you want to check and see if she's got the big V before you kill her? What is that? So you're like really fascinated now, like going, I've got to know what the hell's going on, please. So they're doing that, and then the guy like takes off his balaclava. He takes off his balaclava, and finally you get some answers, right? Well, they start yelling at her like, you enjoy your party, you know what I'm saying? And they show her that video, the same video that DJ was mad about, right? Of her like pawing all over and kissing that Benji guy. Well, that guy's like, that guy over there dead, that's my son. This guy in this video is our youngest son. That's his wife, Pamela. And that's my wife, Pamela. That's my son y'all have killed. And this is my son, Benjamin. that you gave COVID to and he died. Well, okay. Is that why this movie's called Sick? So that was pretty fucking neat, you know? And I'm like, but does she have... Now, the woman, you know, she finally does say, you do have it. Here's the test that proves it. Well, those tests can be like false positives. I know that too. And I don't know if they were in a proper position for you to trust that. But either way, Parker is like, but I don't have any symptoms. She said, yeah, you're asymptomatic, but you're a carrier. You have it. And I'm like, oh. And she was like, we did the tracing and you gave it to 7 different people that night. And I'm like, crap. I mean, and what could she say except, but I didn't know and I'm sorry. You know, it's like, well, that is not going to work. Ain't no sorry when you've killed my oldest son and you killed my baby boy. I mean, do you really think I'm sorry is going to help? So, what the fuck do you do now? Right? They then figure out that somebody's using the Wi-Fi because Mary's over there on the laptop hearing all this shit and has been trying to, you know, message her dad, message other people, going get the cops here. He rips it out. He goes looking for her. And then that's when the mom, like, attacks Parker and is, like, starting to kill her. But Mary attacks her. They beat the hell out of that mom. Throws her out the door. She looks dead. I mean, that was pretty hard. The dad comes after them. And as he's going up the stairs, they cut his Achilles tendon, which I bet that hurt. And that caused him to like freak out, fall over the banister, and he skewered himself on these giant elk antlers, which was a pretty cool death. And then they get out and go to this barn that has another vehicle, and they're in there trying to get it to crank. Maybe it needs gas. You know, needs petrol. It's out of petrol. So she gets out, gets a petrol can, is going to put gas in it when that mom, Pamela, attacks. So once again, what are you supposed to do with these people? Cut their heads off to ensure that they don't come back later in the movie? I'm beginning to think if somebody, you know, if like a serial killer or something come after me, it's like, if I get the upper hand, I'm not stopping until your head's over there and your body is over there. Because I've seen too many horror movies where you motherfuckers look really, really dead and then you jump back up and go for another shot at my ass. I'm not going to have it. You know, I did that review of Screamboat. I forgot to say, Elsa, one of the reasons her death bothered me, I know this is like a total side story, it's all coming to me. I'm filming all of these at the same time. That cool thing that Elsa said in Screamboat, where when, you know, she's seen him and, you know, she was like getting to all that, she screamed, "It's my birthday and I reject all of this." That's why I started liking Elsa, because that's perfect. It's like in this situation, here's this bitch again, and they're like fighting and fighting. I would have been like, you know what? I'm just rejecting all of this as being reality. I mean, let's hope that works, right? If we could only get that to work. But, so they're fighting with this crazy woman, eaten up by vengeance. They poured gasoline all over her. They poured a petrol all over her. They light her up. She runs screaming out into the road, which was like a really long scene, and it's like, I bet that hurts. And you see the cops come in, and the movie ends. So, I didn't really have any negatives about this movie. There was no nudity, So therefore, there's no need to yell about imbalance of nudity because there wasn't any. The kill scenes, I guess they had to make up with blood and gore in fights and violence. And I guess that's why DJ and Tyler's deaths were so long and so violent and so bloody and painful to watch, is because, and the dad, his death as well, and the mom, and the other guy being beat to death with the crock pot and then stabbed. You know, they made up for not a huge body count by making them very, very violent. Sort of like porno was the same way. Not a huge body count. Only 2, really. But everything else was so gory and gross that it made up for it. That's kind of what this did as well. You know. Yeah, so I do have a complaint about this movie. I'll give 2. I did give it an 8 out of 10 despite the complaint. I really, really loved this movie. And since I've already made the mistake is what I'm fixing to talk about, I am very glad to have this in my collection. Even though I look at it as a mistake. And that is that I should have just went and got a boot, because I could have gotten a boot, but I got this. This was it was an unusually expensive movie for it to just be a run-of-the-mill but good slasher. I didn't really understand why this was so expensive. Now, granted, I got the 4K, but I didn't see any other. I didn't see just a Blu-ray release. There's the 4K Blu-ray, and that's all that I saw. But it was unusually expensive. Even with the discount, I think this was like $28. And that's after a discount. I mean, this movie was like $35. And I'm like, I didn't really understand it, but I wanted it that bad. Now, why am I calling it a mistake? This movie is only 82 minutes long. And if you've been around, 83 minutes long. Now, if you've been around my channel, you know that I agree that everyone is free to have their things that bother them. Their pet peeves, yeah? Is that what it's called? Yeah, your pet peeves. I don't like, and I will not support, filmmaking where they make movies under 90 minutes. It's lazy, and it's like no character development. And I don't like that. I am not part of the Twitter generation. I do not have Twitter syndrome. I do not have, I heard a word for it. There's like a word for it. Some kind of generation. The Zoom generation? Is that what it's called? It's about people who have absolutely no attention span. Everything's like 3-minute shorts. They have no attention span, and they can't carry on a conversation beyond 128 characters and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not part of that at all. I don't like that, and I usually would not support something like that. I'll just go buy a $10, $15 boot before I'll pay $30 for a fucking 80-minute movie. If you ain't got the fucking intelligence or the story, or add an extra scene or two, or do something else fun to make it, so yeah, I consider it a mistake that I bought this. Now, I also saw why it was 82 minutes was I then realized that it was a Peacock original. So I'm like, oh my God, it was a streaming service movie. It was made by a streaming service. Again, if you've been around this channel, you know what scams I think they are. I will not support them. I don't support them in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying that about a digital library like Vudu. You know, your Vudu or Movies Anywhere. I'm not talking about a digital library to put your codes and stuff like that. I'm talking about streaming services that make you pay $20 a month or $30 a month or whatever they're ripping you off for, to offer you some content, and then that content can come and go. Nothing is yours. You're just paying for a TV channel is what you're doing. And they want you to pay for 50 of them. Glad you can afford it. But, so I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay. So this happens to be one of the good ones then, because most streaming service content is shit. It's mediocre and below, because they have to justify you giving them $20 a month for something that does not belong to you and nothing that you keep. You can maybe favorite a movie in your favorites, but you don't own nothing. You're just giving them for the privilege of watching it as long as they'll let you until they remove it. So they have to put out a lot of content to justify the price that they're making you pay, which means very short movies, lots of them, not a lot of budget, just a lot of shit. And that's why most streaming movies are a lot of shit. However, there are some very good ones that come along. This is a very good one. And, you know, if I could turn back time, but you can't. And so what's done is done. And I bought the motherfucker. And it was one of those. I bought this because I'd heard a lot about it. I've, of course, seen the poster. I knew it was like a slasher that I wanted for my slasher collection. I just didn't know. I didn't know it was only 82 minutes. I didn't pay attention. 83 minutes. I didn't know it was a streaming service, or I would have probably known it was going to be short. And, yeah, but I wouldn't have paid the price I paid for this had I known that, because I don't support that kind of filmmaking. It's a pet peeve of mine, and you can have yours, and I will have mine. But they got my money. And I won't deny my love for it. I'm glad that I have it. And, yep, what's done is done. But hey, I've got Sick in my collection. the legit version. So, yeah. I really love this movie. Like I said, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think it is a really great slasher. 15 minutes more and a couple of other body counts, and it would have been perfect. You know? Could have had a couple people drop by. I don't know. So, yeah, but it's understandable. It's a streaming service. They rip people off. That's what they do. They put out content, sometimes good, mostly garbage though, but sometimes they'll do a really good one. This time, that happens to be really good, except for the fact it's only 83 minutes long. But there you go. We all have our opinions. You're welcome to yours. I'm welcome to mine. And I am very glad I have it. But the truth is, had I known these things, I'd have just got a boot. I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have supported them by purchasing this for this price. Only because for this price. Now, you can give me an 83-minute movie for $2.99. You know, like one of those dollar store videos. You know, it's like, well, it's 85 minutes, but at the same time, you can get it at Hamilton Books for $2.99. So you're not paying $30 for an 82-minute movie. I'm like, okay, I agree. That's fair. You know, I was like, you know, it's all how much for how much is my problem with it. But there's my little stuck-up rant. And I will see you in my final of this week. My final little choice of collection. I really love Sick 2022. I think it's a great premise. I think Kevin Williamson did what Kevin Williamson does, and he did it. And I will see you. Will the next one have a rant as well at the end? Have I ranted about something at every damn one of these movies? I must be in a bad mood. I don't feel like I'm in a bad mood, but I must be in a bad mood. Either that or I'm just in a bitch mood. Is that it? Is that it? That might be it. because I've had a rant on every one of these videos. I think I'm just being a bitch this week. Well, I'm filming them all tonight, so I guess I'm just being a bitch tonight. Dolores Claiborne. Sometimes being a bitch is the only thing a person has to hold on to. Bye-bye.